Carl and Liam here from Brrraaains A Head-Banging Life, gbhblofficial.com for short. And it's getting goosebumps as we are wrapping up the first quarter of the season with You Can't Scare Me. After a great run of episodes, we are sinking back into the swamp, I'm afraid. And that pun is intentional. Directed by Renee Bonnier, back again in the directing chair, and written by Peter Mitchell. This was book 15 of the original book series, so quite an early one to fall into. I'm going to be straight up, coming off the back of the previous two. Maybe that's why this one didn't really hit home for me, because it came off the back of two strong ones in The Headless Ghost and You Can't Eat Worms. I find this one basically pointless, completely filler.
Yeah, it is very fillery. I completely agree. And there's quite a few swamp-based episodes of Goosebumps, so it kind of just like falls into that whole category. And it's
in fact, this is coming quite soon after the final double episode of season 1, Werewolf Through the Swamp.
Yeah, and there are further swamp episodes to come in the future as well. So yeah, it's another constant, I suppose.
We begin in a misty swamp where a young girl and grandfather are on a walk. She drops a ball into the swamp and Gramps goes to get it, but ends up falling in when we see a mud-covered hand grab his leg. He seemingly sinks and dies as he's gone in the next scene. I presume he died.
I thought I was getting a very dark way to start an episode with someone literally dying, basically. I thought they were going to do the whole, maybe the little girl was going to die, but then even the granddad, I thought that was quite a dark way of opening an episode.
Absolutely. It's a strong start because we see a swamp monster that looks pretty cool erupting out as the girl looks on terrified. But we cut to a classroom as a girl is telling this story to the class, calling it the Mud Monster of Muddy Creek. So technically no one died because it technically is just a fable.
True. That's true. Unless it's supposed to be a sort of thing where it's like, it's a fable, but it did actually happen.
Yeah, one of those that happened and fell into legend because of, that thing completely makes
sense. I like to think of it that way, just because otherwise it's kind of lame otherwise.
Well, it has to, right? Because the monster's real.
It exists, so yeah.
Anyway, this girl is Courtney, played by Charlotte Sullivan, getting a round of applause as two young boys at the back look on unimpressed. The characters in this episode are the biggest problem. They all fucking suck. I couldn't work out who I was supposed to like.
See, in my research, I found that every town has scary stories and legends.
In my research, Little Miss Perfect. Eddie?
True.
The teacher points out that's just a legend and not a true story, but Courtney argues that monsters could be real and that some scientists believe Bigfoot and the Loch Ness Monster are real. And I was like, well, they're not scientists then. They're not real scientists. You are reading this shit. You are fucking spreading fake news, Courtney. Where did you read that? Where did you read that? Show me that in a peer-reviewed study. Liar. Fucking scientists. Any scientist going, yeah, the Loch Ness Monster might be real, is not a scientist. They're a crackpot.
Scientists are all about mythological legends, man. What are you talking about?
Famously. All during this, the two boys at the back continue to talk shit about her. They do not like her. We have Eddie, played by Kill Campbell, and he's the one that keeps getting the ire of the teacher. The other is called, and normally what I do is I wait until the character's name pops up, and then I leave a bracket at the end to get the credits, to try and find out who played the actor. In this one, I really struggled because this character's name is said once, only once. And I went, what? That can't be right. And I wrote it. And then finally at the credits, it's confirmed. His name is Hat. H-A-T.
Hat. We've had Skipper and yeah, that's interesting.
Dave, played by Dylan Provencia. And he reveals to Eddie that he has a snake. And he puts it in a paper bag planning to scare Courtney. And I'm like, all right, you're going too far. They come across as a pair of bullies. Because here's the thing. At this stage, while Courtney is a little bit of a know-it-all, she seems perfectly fine. She even offers to help Eddie print off his report. And I'm like, why are you guys being dicks to her?
Yeah, it's another one of those tropes again, because these episodes are like, they're just filled with characters pranking or getting pranked by other characters. And it does at least flip it on its head a little bit, like how the sibling rivalry thing was kind of flipped on its head in one of the previous episodes. This is flipped a little bit because of the whole character of Courtney. So
yeah, it does result in a kind of comical scene at the end, which I quite like. At lunch, they see her being polite to a teacher and even offering her lunch as he forgot his. That scene is one of the most awkward scenes. I've felt so uncomfortable watching this because the acting's horrendous, but it just comes across really strange as he's like, oh, I can't take your lunch. Oh, okay then. And she's like, it's smoked salmon. And he's like, ooh, smoked salmon.
It's really cringy scene. Yeah.
It's really cringy. But the boys, like, their behavior here, I was like, my God, they're coming across like they hate this girl and they want to do her harm. Like, it's a little bit too far.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
But it's smoked salmon with cream cheese.
Smoked salmon? Well, I can't say no to that.
They put the snake in a lunch bag and they're hoping that the teacher will, seeing the teacher's going to be like reaching into it. They think their plan is fucked up, but actually think, oh no, the teacher will blame Courtney. He reaches in, pulls out the snake because he's an idiot. He literally doesn't look in the bag. He goes, and he's like, oh, that isn't a smoked salmon fucking cheese sandwich. No shit, Sherlock.
Courtney, get it off! It's okay. It's just a corn snake.
Poor man's been traumatized for life, man. I'll never eat another smoked salmon cheese sandwich ever again. Bastard.
He does react like he's proper scared.
Need therapy now.
But Courtney isn't, and immediately knows he's responsible. Especially as that's the thing, is they don't exactly hide it. They're sitting there sniggering, and then their plan obviously backfires. It's like, well, obviously it was you, obviously. Yeah. Annoyed that their plan failed, the boys come up with a new one. And in the science lab, they kidnap a tarantula. So it's like, God, you guys are really going too far here. They hide as the science teacher and Courtney come in. And this is where you kind of like, okay, Courtney, you're annoying. You are super annoying. Courtney already has A+, but wants a different grade, a higher grade that doesn't exist, and says to the teacher that we can invent one together. And I'm like, okay, you probably deserve to have your ass kicked.
You get it now. You can see why she might be quite grating.
Yes.
Courtney, you know you don't need to do any extra work. You've already got an A+.
Yeah, but I was hoping I can get something higher.
There is no such thing.
You sure? We're in science class. We can invent one. I hate her.
And like, I'm thinking as well, the teacher's just, if I'm a teacher, like, I'm going to be like, Courtney, go home. Like, come on, man. Go home so I can go home. Like, what are you doing? We're not going to stay here. But the teacher's like, I wish there were more students like you. And then Courtney, and this is where like, I wish there were more teachers like her. And I'm just like, okay, you can drown her, you can throw tarantulas on her, you can do whatever you want to her.
Yeah, that's a little bit too much for me.
The boys are hiding in the closet and are locked in by the teacher as we see the spider is free and climbing up Eddie's leg. Don't know how it got free, but you know.
Why with the damn spiders as well, Errol Stan? We had that in the episode we mentioned. What was it called? I can't remember what it was.
Girl Who Cried Monster.
Yeah, we did in that one, like, damn with the bugs and the spiders.
Yeah, it's creepy. The teacher leaves, so the boys call for help, and Courtney opens the door and is unimpressed. She simply picks up the spider, points out some facts about it, and makes the boys look like turds. Yeah, it's Courtney being Courtney.
Hello. It's okay, tarantula. It's okay.
We then cut to the swamp as something stirs in the mud. We see that Courtney's mud monster project has been published in the newspaper. It's a very slow news day, apparently.
That's prestigious honor, that.
Courtney explains to the teacher that she used to be afraid of mud monsters, and writing a report made her confront her fears. I'm like, that is so specific, right? That's a specific fear, not monsters in general. Mud monsters.
Ones that are made from mud, yeah.
And of course, this gives the boys an idea. Later, they're daring her to meet her at the creek to prove she isn't afraid of mud. She agrees. And we then see Hat covering Eddie in mud. And it is a bit like, again, guys, you're overdoing this. Like, he's smothering him in mud.
You're like, come on, man, get a life. Like, it's going a bit, you know, you've got something better to do, surely.
Yeah, it's that, isn't it? It's a bit like, wow. Is this how you turn into when this is how you turn into braining people with rocks and burying their bodies in swamps.
Basically, they're taking it to so far to a degree that it's like you're gonna end up actually doing something serious here and like regretting it, man.
And what it also stops becoming is relatable and believable.
That's true.
How come I have to be the mud monster? Because it was my idea. So how do I look? Like someone covered with mud.
So the plan is for Hat to bring Courtney to where Eddie is. He will jump out and scare her. I mean, it's not a great plan, but because what I thought was, well, the moment she meets Eddie and sees that, the moment that she meets Hat, no, it's Ed, whichever one it is, I've mixed them up. Whenever she meets the one that she's supposed to be meeting and the other isn't there, you would be like, well, you're probably planning to jump out and scare me, right?
I kind of like the fact that she is probably aware of it, but just doesn't care because it doesn't affect her.
There is that. Because Courtney doesn't show up and Hat goes looking for her. And we keep cutting back, right? So we get lots of cutting back and forth here as Eddie continues to cover himself in mud. And we see a lump of mud hit the ground and begin to pulsate and expand. Hat then sees a muddy figure in the distance and thinks it's Eddie. But it's actually the mud monster. And this is played by Gary Robbins. And it begins to chase after Hat. So let's talk about the look of the mud monster. Did you like it? You think it was good?
Yeah, I think it looks good. I mean, it looks like a monster that's made out of mud. So they've achieved that.
I agree. It's perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with it. It looks like it's made out of mud. It works. I don't mind it. What I didn't like is the chase scene where it's the shaky camera work here of the chase. Hate it.
No one likes that.
Hat falls over, the mud monster gets closer, and we keep cutting back to Eddie, who fails to notice, and I did like this, it fails to notice that the mud piles behind him are growing bigger and bigger. I thought that was going to be important. It is nothing, it's irrelevant.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be cool if like the mud monster has some sort of, you can like manipulate all of the mud basically, has some kind of control over it. It's like its domain, and that's important, but yeah.
Hat then arrives and is scared by Eddie. Eddie doesn't believe that the mud monster is real as Courtney arrives and points out that they just can't scare her. She basically calls them stupid in a really roundabout way. She's not wrong. They are bloody idiots.
Yeah.
And now here's the thing. I thought I saw where this was going. As she talks and talks, the mud monster comes up behind her. But when the boys point it out, she obviously doesn't believe him. So I thought it was going to be the whole, she'll turn around, see it, scream, run, and they'll be like, yeah, we got her. And then they were going to be like, oh my God, oh yeah, the mud monster's here. And that's how it was going to end. But instead, she turns around and hilariously acknowledges its existence and tells it not to interrupt. And I did laugh. Didn't expect it.
Yeah, it's unexpected, so.
Monster! Oh, a mud monster. A mud monster is behind me, I see. You are right. Don't interrupt. I can feel your anger.
She goes further as she suggests that the monster talk about his anger and aggressive behavior. She basically therapizes the monster until it hardens in the sunlight.
She like bores it to death, basically. Yeah, she almost bores the monster to death. It's like, I quite like that because it just ties into her whole character throughout the whole episode, and yeah, it just flips the whole idea on its head of like a character that, you know, we would get all these like Weasley, like easily scared characters in these episodes that kind of grate on me and annoy me. So it was kind of refreshing to have this character that's just like that nothing can get to me. And yeah, I thought it was quite an interesting twist. Couldn't have seen that coming, I don't think.
I think we have an emotionally wounded creature. It wasn't until I admitted to myself that there was nothing wrong with being perfect, that I was able to totally accept myself, to work on your self-growth, and definitely do something about your impulsive behavior.
Agreed, but this episode then decides to push it too far. Because sometime later, the monster is apparently dead, and the press are all there treating Courtney like a hero. She even gets a phone call from the president.
They got to do is take it that like 10 steps too far, man.
She takes credit for saving the lives of the two terrified boys. I like that as well. Like, she gets a little bit of her own back here, where she plays down how terrified they were, depressed. Oh, they were so scared, and I came along and I saved them and all that. And it is a bit like, you're being mugged off, boys, right in front of the press. It's going to be written about, and you're going to be made to look like fools. But the rain begins to fall, so everyone leaves except Eddie and Hat. And there was a moment where I was like, oh shit, I just realized what was about to happen. As the water softens the monster, it turns it back to mud, and it revives, following after the boys. And it ends with them being scared by it, basically. It comes up behind them as they're sitting on a bench. They see it and they run off, and that's where the episode ends. So a very flat ending to a nothing episode, really.
Shouldn't we get out of the rain? What for? Yeah. I just gotta tell you, Eddie, life just isn't fair. Oh, thanks, man.
Yeah, normally you get something at the very end that's like, oh, that's like a cool moment. But it just kind of just ends like pretty anticlimactically.
Yeah, and that's I can't really think of anything to add about it.
Yeah, it's hard to really think of anything that really jumps out other than the fact that it flips some of the conventional things that we see in the Goosebumps episodes on its head. And I thought the performances in it were pretty, not too bad. You know, the boys, I don't think you're supposed to really like them too much, so I guess they achieved that. And the girl who plays Courtney's good. It's pretty much an average episode, I would say. The monster itself looks decent, and the ending is definitely unique and unpredictable. You wouldn't have seen that coming, and it's quite a funny little thing. So, yeah, pretty average, middle of the road episode.
I second everything you said, positive wise, and everything you said negative wise. It is literally a middle of the road average filler episode. It's there. It isn't going to bug you too much. It's short, as all of them are. You're nothing to hate, nothing to love.
Definitely.
So,
completely agree.
Yeah. Let us know what you think of it in the comments. Thank you very much for watching. You can check us out on gbhbl.com, as well as on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Tumblr. Go to Patreon to help us out over there. That's patreon.com/gbhbl, as well as Big Cartel, where you can find some of our merchandise. We have a podcast running on SoundCloud and Apple Podcasts. And of course, if you like this video, do us a favor, hit the subscribe button and help the channel grow. Games, horror, and heavy metal. What else is life for?